South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rock and dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grand View Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show, every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grand View Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grand View Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Welcome in. Happy Thursday, everyone. About 90 minutes from kick in Miami. We're here for another football frenzy here on Sports by the Book. I'm Jeff Parles, alongside the always well-dressed, the one and only
no
Ryan.
No tie this time?
No, you look plenty good, Ryan. Ryan McCormick on the other side of your screen right now.
Good to be here. Good to be in the officially playoff time.
Are you giving away a well, actually, they both.
No, they're both Navy.
I was going to say, obviously, Notre Dame, you think green.
However, my undershirt is one of the 2 teams.
Okay, well, I wish I was paying attention earlier. There you go. You know, it's you just mentioned it. It's playoff time. We got 5 straight days of high leverage playoff games. Of course, these 2 semifinals in college football. In the NFL, we start super wild card weekend. I can't forget that, Ryan.
6 games there.
Starting on Saturday with the annual Houston Texans opening the playoffs game and ending either in Los Angeles or in Arizona, depending on where they decide to play the game with the horrible tragedies going on in L.A. with all the fires. All of our thoughts with everyone impacted in the greater Los Angeles area. But it begins tonight in Miami.
That it does.
With the Orange Bowl. And boy, what a game. Like, seriously, these games are so good in college football. I know everyone likes to whine about everything when it comes to college football and the playoffs, but if you told us before the season, your Final Four is going to be Penn State, Notre Dame, Texas, and Ohio State, I think we all would have signed up for it. Signed up for it 100 times out of 100.
Yeah.
Unless if you're
Georgia, Oregon fans.
Your Georgia and Oregon tickets going to rest in the last round. Yeah. But Ryan, let's just start. Let's start with this game here tonight. And you could throw the fun graphic that Ryan threw up there. We'll start with the opening odds of this game. Marcus Freeman looks very intense on this graphic, by the way.
He's based off that press conference yesterday, he should be on the sidelines tonight.
Well, I mean, Franklin calling out Notre Dame. Everyone should be uniform. Everyone should be in a conference. All that nonsense, whatever it is, what it is.
James Franklin acting like he's actually won something in college football.
Well, look, Franklin in the semifinal, deepest Penn State has ever been in this BCS / college football playoff era. Notre Dame, of course, was in a title game in this very building, and that game was over before it even started against Alabama over a decade ago now. But you saw on that last screen, Notre Dame opened 2.5-point favorites in that game, and now you have seen a move to pick behind us. This game is now off the 1. It's now 2 pick. You're now also seeing our friends over at the Westgate have Penn State favored now in this game,
Okay.
Ryan. The total is 45.5 across the board. There was reports of the flu bug hitting Notre Dame. Again, the reports, who knows what the reports really are, because you have, we don't know who's impacted.
Right.
The reports were, it's
who's
backups
actually
and
sick,
special teams, but hey, if it's Mitch Jeter, the way he is kicked in this postseason could be a big of an issue for Notre Dame. But look, you're in a scenario here, Ryan, where we have a favorite flip. Even with the flu bug going through, I'm a little bit surprised of the favorite flip here, because as I said this morning, man, all this is coming down to Abdul Carter, who, as of right now, the expectation is Abdul Carter is going to play today, but boy, it's just a matter of how impactful can he be coming off that shoulder injury he suffered just 8 days ago in the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, not just how important Abdul Carter is to the defense, but what he's going to be able to do to Riley Leonard and the Notre Dame offense. Riley Leonard 100% controls the Notre Dame offense. Yes, he's the quarterback, but he also gets at least 10 carries a game in the offense as the quarterback. So he gets the control of the ball on at least half of the Notre Dame plays in the offense. I understand. So what I'm saying is at least 20 pass attempts a game for Riley Leonard and at least 10 rush attempts. So at least 30 plays a game are in the hands of Riley Leonard. But with Abdul Carter being on the defensive line and being so important for the Penn State defense, that's going to be what it comes down to. And what I wanted to break down, or I had said last week in the Boise State-Penn State game, is that it was going to come down to the quarterbacks and Drew Aller versus Maddox Madsen. Will Penn State be able to force Maddox Madsen to make turnovers and not allow Boise State to run through Ashton Genty? What Penn State would have to do tonight, or they did that in the second half. Maddox Madsen threw 3 second-half interceptions, ultimately killing Boise State's chances when they did have it, being that they scored immediately after halftime and were capable of coming back in that game. But again, 3 second-half interceptions from Maddox Madsen. So my point being, Riley Leonard averages less than a turnover per game in the Notre Dame offense. So Penn State's going to have to force that, and depending on the timing in the game of when the turnover comes, because both of these teams are averaging less than a turnover a game, actually. So when that turnover comes in this game, whether it's in the first half, is the team that forces it going to be able to capitalize and score and put the other team at a deficit and then work from in front? Or is it going to be late in the game where it is a tight game and then that ultimately wins the game? Or is it one where, again, early and a team can kind of steamroll? And I kind of think it's the situation where if Penn State is able to force an early turnover, they're going to be able to steamroll in this game. I kind of think the sickness is going to play a little more into this, as well as the fact that humidity in Miami. I get that it is a mostly enclosed stadium, but it is. Will the roof be open? Do you know?
Well, there is no roof in Miami. It's
the Hard Rock. Well, it's kind of the box, right? So it doesn't even enclose.
The fans are covered. The field is not stuff that they brought over from Europe.
Yes. Okay, so anyway, Jeff had mentioned that Notre Dame had got embarrassed against Alabama in that 2012 national championship. Their first time playing in Hard Rock Stadium. Their last time was in 2017, and they also got shellacked by Miami. I believe 41-8 was the final score in that game. So 0-2 in their history in Hard Rock Stadium, but they have won 6 straight in NFL stadiums. So a little bit of confidence there for Notre Dame.
Thankfully for Notre Dame, none of the guys who suited up in that 2017 game will be there today. And of course, that coach is currently in Baton Rouge as well. I'll just throw this at you real quick, because you said the illness is going to play a role. I mean, this flu bug has been going through
depending on who has it. Yeah.
Virtually everyone across every major market in the country. There's a lot of flu bug out there right now. I'm just curious, because if going through the Notre Dame locker room, it probably is at some point, one or another in the last 10 days, been going through the Penn State locker room as well. That's part of the reason that I'm in the, all right, let's see who has it.
Right.
Me, you, Danny brought this up. Danny Burke brought this up this morning, that maybe this is actually more impactful next week, potentially, if they do get through. If they get through and it rattles through into the starters, and then all of a sudden you're playing a national championship game in 11 days. And And down in Atlanta, you're playing either Texas or, geez, if you're playing Ohio State, maybe a little more impactful. I will say this, though, Ryan. The fact that we're at a pick, and this is a straight pick right now, kind of feels right, doesn't it? That these semifinal games, teams that basically ever since Notre Dame stabilized their season, ever since Penn State lost to Ohio State, basically were nip and tuck the entire way through the last month of the season. It's pretty fair that this team is full. Again, I still favor Notre Dame. It sounds like you favor Penn State in this game. I think it's appropriate that this thing will probably cause either a pick or one team or another being favored by a point.
Well, so in the last 6 weeks, Notre Dame has outscored their opponents 235 to 93.
It's pretty good.
So yeah, both sides of the ball are feeling themselves. But that was a 52-3 win against Florida State, a 35-14 win against Virginia, a 49-14 win against Army, 49-35 game against USC, which they could have lost if Jaden Mayava didn't throw 2 100-yard pick sixes, and then Indiana and Georgia in the playoffs. So they're feeling themselves the past 6 weeks, and then Penn State is almost equivalent in how much they're outscoring their opponents, 225 to 111, and that is at Purdue, at Minnesota versus Maryland, and then Oregon, SMU, and Boise State. So I tend to think that Boise State has had much better opponents the last few weeks, and Boise State's playing better ball the last few weeks. But I grew up a Notre Dame fan, and I've kind of gotten used to Notre Dame embarrassing themselves in big game spots. But watching the press conferences and watching James Franklin kind of talk down to Marcus Freeman the way he did, like the 38 years old, your hairline looks great and all that kind of stuff, kind of downplaying how successful Marcus Freeman has been as a head coach at Notre Dame. Marcus Freeman is 4-1 straight up and against the spread in bowl games. Cover margin of 8.5 points in those games. The total is 3-2 to the over. The only time he lost and did not cover was his first ever game as the Notre Dame head football coach when he took over as the interim for Brian Kelly after he left for LSU. So just
a bowl game.
Correct.
Wow, that's pretty good.
So Marcus Freeman has done a very good job with this Notre Dame program. And James Franklin is 6-5 in bowl games at Penn State, 7-4 against the spread, 7-4 to the over, but only a 1.8 cover margin. And then I kind of want to hammer home the fact that James Franklin does not have any ground to stand on to kind of talk down to coaches. He is 4-19 straight up when facing a top 10 opponent. He is 1-14 when facing a top 5 opponent. He is 3-10 in those games when his team is also a top 10 team. So James Franklin, very capable of being letting down his Penn State faithful in this game. And I hope Marcus Freeman can get the guys riled up for Notre Dame. But on paper, and I tend to think Penn State should win this game.
Well, again, we're dealing with two programs that have not won a big-time game in a long time. And now, look, the win that's unfair of me to say, because last week, that win in the Sugar Bowl was potentially a flipping point for Notre Dame's program. You beat yes, I understand it. Carson Beck, who, by the way, entered the transfer portal today, might be heading down to South Beach to play in this stadium moving forward. But before that win last week for Notre Dame, all right, you win a college football playoff game, the first ever on-campus site game. All right, that's a monumental one for college football. Yeah. All right, you were supposed to win the game. You were a touchdown favorite in the game. And when we talk Notre Dame versus Indiana in football, I don't care that Indiana had a great year. We know what's supposed to happen with that. Then you beat Georgia, which kind of feels like a shifting moment for the program. Penn State, even though they're here, I mean, you got people screaming look who they beat? They beat SMU, who a lot of people around college football didn't think even deserved to be in the playoff. Yeah. And they beat Boise State, who deserved to be in the playoff, but was seated higher because of the format that we're in. I mean, Penn State went off as an 11-point favorite, a 12-point favorite in the game. I actually think the one thing I will say, Ryan, I think playing the high-end competition last game for Notre Dame actually is going to play a role in helping Notre Dame here, because Penn State's best asset is they have a great tight end in Tyler Warren. Drew Aller is a very good college quarterback, even though some people can't seem to grasp that. Running back wise, they have good depth. led by Singleton, of course, in the backfield. And then their defense, led by Abdul Carter, is one of the loaded defenses and is a very fast defense. But they're not as fast on defense as Georgia was. So I wonder if actually that helps Notre Dame, seeing a very fast defense a week ago. And remember, Notre Dame's offensive numbers weren't that good in that game. Only averaged 4.2 yards per play. They won the game because their defense stood up when they had to. They forced a big turnover at the end of the half, which they cashed in for 7. And then they returned the opening kick of the second half. That's your difference right there in a 23-10 win. So, again, I think Notre Dame benefits from playing higher competition last week. That's one of the reasons I'm on there. And also, too, we haven't mentioned a total at all. Down 2 points from the open here. Yep. Down as many as 3.5 from other shops. Even a 45.5. Now that the hook's back, I would feel okay about going under. Okay. Because 24-21 feels like a very logical final. And I'm not the greatest with math. 24 plus 21 is 45. So that would be good to get under the 45.5, right? Yeah.
And then just one final note for you on the history kind of on these two teams in the Orange Bowl. We know that these two teams are 9-1 against each other's 20th meeting. But Orange Bowl history. So this is the third straight year of the Orange Bowl that has featured a team ranked number 6. That would be Penn State in this game. The 2022 season, the number 6 Tennessee Volunteers beat the number 10 Clemson Tigers 31-14. Now, last year, the number 6 Georgia Bulldogs beat the number 5 Florida State Seminoles 63-3. And so now Penn State, the 6th seed, the 2 last 6 seeds, won those games. So if you think 3 straight years of a 6th seed. And then this is the 6th appearance in the Orange Bowl for both Notre Dame and Penn State. Penn State is 4-1 in the Orange Bowl. This is the first appearance, they've only had one appearance since the 80s, and that was in 2005 when they beat Florida State. And Notre Dame is 2-3 in the Orange Bowl. Their first appearance since they had Lou Holtz as their head coach in the 90s when they went 1-2 under him in the Orange Bowl. So just a little history with these teams in the Orange Bowl for you.
We're oppo on this game. Two-way action, as would be said on the desk. Do we? Vinny's back there right now. I don't know if he's listening or not. But I'm on Notre Dame. You're on Penn State. Again, this is a pick for a reason. These teams are super, super evenly matched. It could very easily come down to, does Aller or Leonard make a big mistake in this game? Special teams could matter. Now that Mitch Jeter is actually back to the guy that Notre Dame thought he was going to be at the beginning of the year, battled injuries until the last 2 weeks of the year, has been great in the college football playoff, hasn't missed a kick yet. Could come down to him and Penn State's kicker as well. But I'm on the Irish. Sounds like you're on Penn State.
I don't have a play on them. I just think that's the right side.
The lean. Okay. We'll give you the lean.
I've grown up an Irish fan, so I will be rooting for Notre Dame in this game. But I do think Penn State's the right side.
We'll get more thoughts from this later in the show. Dwayne Colucci will join us later. Not much prop-wise in this game for either of us either. You jokingly said to me when I walked in this morning, Riley Leonard's going to carry the ball 25 times, which it's not impossible. He could.
Yeah.
I mean,
better get a great price for 25.
Yeah, you better. I don't think you're going to get a fair price on that. Let's just go with that. Leonard, by the way, his rushing total in this game is 52, and it's juiced to the over. So okay, just tread carefully on that. And
Penn State's rush defense.
It's a lead.
They were able to contain Genty to 106 yards last week.
It took a lot of effort. There was a lot of effort to get to that
but
too.
They have a good rush defense. So with how much Notre Dame runs the football, I don't know.
And also, to Katron Allen and Singleton both coming in at 61.5 on the Penn State side. Jeremiah Love, who is not 100% by any stretch, you can get 40+ at plus 105. You could have done better earlier in the day, so tread a little carefully. Those numbers via DraftKings, of course, always subject to change. All right, let's quickly hit on this game tomorrow. We will get this in length tomorrow with the fellas, Chris Andrews, Vinny Magliulo, I should say, excuse me, and Jimmy Vaccaro will be in here. Might even have Felica too. Just have to confirm that that's actually in play still. Buckeyes and Longhorns in the Cotton Bowl. 6, Ryan, with Ohio State. Toggler, I was really hoping for 7. We're just not going to get there on this one. 53-year total was 6, 6.5, 6, 6.5, 6, 5.5, 6. I think we're more likely to see 5.5 than 6.5 yet again here. And that total's gone down a point for, again, the team that was ranked lower is the correct favorite. And Ryan, if it got to 7, I just was in the camp of that's way too many points. Yes. If Ohio State drills Texas, then so be it. But this Longhorn team, let's not forget, talent-wise, now it doesn't always transpire on the field, whether it's Sark or Ewers underachieving, or if that defense decides to take some time off mid-game, or their offensive line starts struggling, which we've seen. When Texas has been, and again, remember, Texas only lost to one team this year. They lost to Georgia twice. But when this team is at its best, they're as talented as anyone, and they're as good as anyone. So it's hard to see a game in the state of Texas with the Horns getting 6. Just a testament to how dominant the Buckeyes have been the last 2 weeks. Right. Once that Michigan loss snapped them back to reality in a positive way. Yeah, and I think Ohio State has the dominance they've shown the last few weeks is exactly why this number is the way it is. And the vulnerability that Texas showed in the second half last week is also why it's sitting at this 6 and hasn't gone to that 7, because if Texas had blown out Arizona State, this game would be a lot closer. Arizona State would have came back ultimately, but so that's why we're seeing it at 6. But I think Ohio State's the right side. Again, to what you said, I don't like the amount of points. I won't be playing the 6. I'm much more confident with the 210 on the money line. But it's going to come down to the turnover battle and these 2 quarterbacks. And I know I said quarterbacks in the last battle, but if Quinn Ewers throws 2 interceptions in this game, Ohio State will have no problem covering. Quinn Ewers has played 8 games this season against the top 25 opponent: Michigan, Oklahoma, Georgia twice, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, Clemson, and Arizona State. 15 touchdown passes in those games, 9 interceptions. So just over an interception per game. But if he throws 2 against a very capable Ohio State roster, Ohio State should 100% take advantage of it, or be capable of taking advantage of it. Ohio State has faced 5 teams that were ranked at the time of the game: Oregon twice, Penn State, Indiana, Tennessee. Will Howard has thrown 3 straight games with holy cow. Let me piece this back together. So prior to last week's game against Oregon, he had thrown 3 straight interceptions. Had gone 3 straight weeks throwing an interception. Did not throw it against Oregon. He had done that earlier this season, 3 straight games prior to facing Oregon, interceptions. Facing Oregon, no interceptions. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions in the first game. 3 touchdowns last week, no interceptions last week. That's going to be a lot for you to figure that out, how I just said that. But anyway, thank you for listening. We appreciate you for being here. Chime in the chat if you have any plays on the game. But the game, oh my goodness. But the game after Oregon earlier this year, Ohio State played Nebraska at home. They did not look as themselves. They expended all they needed to against Oregon, ultimately losing that game and then rebounding against Nebraska. But in that game against Nebraska, Will Howard had 3 touchdowns and 1 interception, so he didn't take care of the ball as well. I think that'll kind of be the same case tomorrow, with how capable Texas's defense is following the Oregon matchup. So Will Howard and Quinn Ewers, I both like to throw interceptions. It's just a matter of who throws more, and I think it'll be Ewers, and Ohio State will take advantage. So I do like Ohio State as the side, minus 210 in this game. Just no play on the 6. I'll save my thoughts for tomorrow as a whole here, because I really want to see how this market plays out over the next 24 hours, because I really would love to see a 7. Not going to happen. A 6.5 I'd rather even have if I'm going to come in on Texas. It's almost one of those where this game landing 6 will make a lot of sense, but we'll save that for when Vinny's in here so he can get angry at me. So I do want to point out the loser of this game will have to wait until August 30th to play their next game, and this will be the next matchup for the losing team. So they will have 7 months to fester and study the film. Yeah, Texas and Ohio State in Columbus. Open the season at the Shoe in Columbus for that, and then Poor San Jose State gets to play Texas the following week.
Yeah.
Poor Spartans in that one. All right. Let's take a quick break. When we get back, we have more power rankings to get to from the NFL. We have quarterback. We have team overall. We'll have some looks at the games this weekend. Dwayne Colucci joins us as well. When we get back, Sports by the Book Football Frenzy on a Thursday.
South Point offers all the types of entertainment you'd expect at a first-class Las Vegas resort. Did you know our 400-seat showroom is one of Las Vegas's top destinations for live entertainment? Enjoy live performances by classic Vegas entertainers, bands, and today's hottest comedians, plus a rock and dance floor. You can also enjoy live entertainment at the Grand View Lounge, where you'll feel all the vibes of old Las Vegas. Enjoy the music, and if you love to laugh, don't miss The Dirty at 12:30, our very own free comedy show. Every Friday night at 12:30 a.m. in the Grand View Lounge. The Dirty is 100% free, so arrive early. Go to southpointcasino.com or call the box office at 77136 for today's performances at the showroom and the Grand View Lounge. When you're ready for your favorite cocktail, stop in and unwind at one of our 7 specialty lounges. There's a bar around every corner, because you're in Vegas, baby. South Point Casino has plenty of attractions for the whole family. Catch a movie. Our 16-screen movie theater includes 2 XD Extreme screens for the ultimate in viewing, sound, and luxury. After the show, treat the family to a variety of treats at our old-fashioned ice cream parlor, Kate's Corner. We scoop up a variety of creamy concoctions, including smoothies, hand-dipped cones, milkshakes, malts, sodas, and sundaes. At Kate's, there's something for everyone. And if you still got time to spare, our bowling center might be right up your alley. Voted Best of Las Vegas, it's a great place for friends and family fun. 64 lanes, a pro shop, snack bar, and arcade. And while the kids are bowling, you can play slots and sip on a drink in the Alley Cat Lounge while overlooking the lanes. For our more serious and professional bowlers, the South Point is also home to a separate tournament bowling plaza.
Welcome back in at Sports by the Book Football Frenzy. Jeff Parles, Ryan McCormick. Here, as always, we're thrilled to be with you here. All right, NFL playoff-wise, Ryan, so we have 6 games this weekend. We'll just rattle through the lines, and then we'll go through some power rankings that we did not get to on Monday, starting with our quarterback power rankings. Top 10 on the screen, everyone. Just remember, top 10 on the screen. I wonder if that Texans fan is still angry at us, Ryan. It starts in Houston. We talked about it this morning. 2.5 still on the Chargers. Yeah, maybe it's square. I don't know. I mean, it feels kind of good to lay the 2.5 with the Chargers, especially when the rest of the market is 3 on LA. The Texans, as of this moment, are the worst team in the field of the 14. Now, there's enough talent there that they are capable of winning a playoff game for the second consecutive year. But again, we haven't seen it. I mean, last week the starters were in for one drive, and then, the Titans are a pathetic mess, as we know, the worst team against the spread in NFL history. But be a lean to the Chargers right now for me, and of the 2 Saturday games, this is the one that at the current numbers is a play for me more than anything, right? Yeah,
and for this one, I kind of think the Texans might have coasted the last 4 weeks of the season. And the reason I say that is, so the Texans are one of 6 teams with a Week 14 bye this year. Prior to going into it, they had beat the Jags and pretty much locked up the division without officially winning it. But they were in the driver's seat to win it towards the end, but they still had 4 weeks left. In those 4 games after their bye week, their offense has scored 64 points in the month of December, averaging 16 points per game. The only teams in the National Football League that were worse were my Chicago Bears, the Cleveland Browns, and the New Orleans Saints. So the Texans, knowing that they were going to get in the playoffs, I think may have taken the foot off the gas pedal. Granted, they also did lose a big piece in the game against Kansas City, but Joe Mixon hasn't seen 70% of snaps since the game against the Jags in Week 13. Why that's the case, you have to think they're just saving him for the playoffs, saving him for this point. And so I hope that we get a better effort or a better look of the Texans than we have the last month. But based on the last month, I would 100% agree with you that the Chargers are the right side in this game, and should be the road, are rightfully so the road favorite.
Minus 150 on the money line doesn't feel bad either with the Chargers, but we'll see how that market plays out over the next few days. Of course, this Saturday early because we're required to put the Texans at 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 Pacific on a Saturday to begin your NFL playoffs. Steelers and Ravens, just rattling through these, and we'll talk with Dwayne on all these. 9.5 right now on the Ravens. Favorite against Steelers, it touched 10. You took the 10, good job. If not, maybe see what happens over the next day or two on this number. No Zay Flowers, that's the big news in this game on the Baltimore end. They hope to have him back for what would likely be a showdown with Buffalo in round 2.
Yes.
Speaking of Buffalo, they're 9-point favorites against the Denver Broncos. That hasn't moved. That 9 has been right there. It hasn't moved. Only the total has moved very negligible moves. 47.5, 47, 47.5. So we're on the opening numbers. So how about that? That's interesting. Right in line with what everyone in the market thinks on that. NFC side, Green Bay's 4.5-point underdogs at Philadelphia. Total 45.5. Weather could play a role in that game. 46-45 on that. 4.5 now after the opener of 4. Jalen Hurts practiced in full today, so expect him to be ready. Jordan Love, full participant off the injury report. So no worries about either quarterback in this game after Love got dinged up against the Bears last week. Hurts hasn't played since week 16 when he suffered the concussion against the Commanders. Commanders, speaking of them, they're 3-point underdogs at Tampa. 49.5 on this one. I said it this morning. I really like this game over, with especially the fact that I think these defenses stink at this point. Weather-wise in Tampa, it's going to be, going to be 59 degrees, which is kind of cool for Tampa at any time of the year with limited wind. Total bet down. Interesting with the limited wind. And that one, and then
we will get Marshawn Lattimore versus Mike Evans in that game.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will. Those guys don't like each other.
No, they do not.
And then the last one, as of right now, game is still being played at SoFi Stadium with all the tragic wildfires in the Los Angeles area. It's down to a pick, 48 in the total. Minnesota open a favorite. They're betting the Rams. Really difficult game to figure for me. We saw this matchup earlier in the year. Rams won by 10, and that was the game that Darnold got face masked in the end zone. They didn't call it. He got safety. Now, granted, the Vikings still had to have gone 98 yards in a minute and a half with no timeouts and needing 8 points. So still probably weren't going to win that game.
It was also the first game this season that Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Kyron Williams, and Matthew Stafford were all playing together. So.
That game was over 2 months ago, and I'm still angry I didn't ladder Nacua in that game on the receiving yards. Would have won every single one of them, Ryan, on that. All right. You want to go some power rankings?
Let's do it.
Let's go to the quarterback rankings here. We did the other day. We did the defenses. We did the coaches. We had a fun time with it.
Yeah.
We had a fun time with it. We aggravated some people along the way, which is always good. But
matter of opinion.
Hey, look, everyone's entitled to their own opinion. That's what makes this fun. So let's go to the quarterbacks here. On my end, I will go with the 4 that are not listed. Boy, I'm going to continue to aggravate that Texans fan here. The bottom 4 on my list, because we'll only show 10 on the screen. Bo Nix is 14.
Okay.
I don't think that comes as much as a shock to anyone who's listened to this show this year. Russell Wilson is 13.
Okay.
Just the current version of the Steeler offense is a mess all the way around. 12 is Sam Darnold. Tremendous year. Very concerned the lights are now too bright. And we started to see it last week. Very concerned about that. Number 11 is C.J. Stroud. If we're just going off of individual seasons for C.J. Stroud, C.J. Stroud's probably 13th on this list. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. I'm pushing him to 11. He's the one home quarterback I have outside the top 4, or outside the top 10, I should say, in my bottom 4. But that's kind of where I'm at with that. 1 through 10, I'll just go from the bottom and work our way to the top because I think everyone should figure out who number 1 is for both of us. I Jordan Love at 10. A little bit concerned about that elbow, even though he's at full strength, according to the injury report, but erratic. That's kind of the name of the game with Jordan Love. Gets him really good. He gets him really bad. He comes in at number 10. Jaden Daniels is number 9. Understand he's a rookie. Understand the lights are bright. He was not good last week in the 2 quarters he played against Dallas. But this is a Tampa defense that is really struggling right now. And I fully expect the Washington offense to be able to do whatever the heck they want in that game. And look, confidence is a very important thing for a young quarterback.
Yes.
If Washington wins that game and Daniels plays a great game, you go into Detroit, more likely than not. Or if you don't go into Detroit, or if you go into LA or Minnesota, they're going to be somewhat live again in all those games. I think they're even live against the Lions. 8 is Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield threw 41 touchdown passes this year, which is nuts.
Over 4,000 passing yards as well.
What a year for Baker. He comes in at number 8 because I will say 6 through 8, very, very tight between these guys. Herbert at 7, Goff at 6. If you want to flip them around, no problem with that. If you want to flip any of them, honestly, 6 through 8, if you want to flip any of that order, I listen to all of that.
Okay.
5 is Jalen Hurts. Obviously, last year, I'm going to throw out. Last year, everything with the Eagles was a disaster by the end of the year. Jalen Hurts was awesome in the postseason 2 years ago. Super Bowl is, I still think, the best game Jalen Hurts has played in the NFL, even though it was a losing effort. And now that he's out of concussion protocol, I actually really trust him. I really trust him in that Eagle offense. I put him at number 5. Now we get to the only other guy on this list in my top 10 who has won a Super Bowl, and that's Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson, yes, I know, in the playoffs won a Super Bowl, not on the top 10. Stafford at 4. Healthy Stafford is still a top-notch quarterback in this league. He's playing against a defense he carved the first time around.
Yeah.
And look, the defenses, other than Philadelphia in the NFC, they're not intimidating. You expect a big postseason from Stafford, even if the Rams go out in round 1. He's number 4. Then you get to the 3 AFC guys. This is all about trust. I trust the dude who's won the 3 championships the most. I trust the guy who I would vote as the MVP second. And I trust the guy who has had the most playoff failings of the 3 guys, the least of the 3. Yes, I know Baltimore made it further than Buffalo. Yes, I understand that. But Josh Allen, again, of course, the famous 13-second game. Now, it's not Josh Allen's fault. He did everything in his power to win that game.
Yeah.
His defense let him down.
Yeah.
Last year, his kicker let him down at the end against Kansas City. Josh Allen has played more than well enough, other than that first AFC title game in 2020, and of course, that absolute disaster in 2019 against Houston. Ever since the 2020 playoffs, Allen has been more than good enough to advance Buffalo through. I know I haven't mentioned 2022. They just got ripped apart by that Cincinnati team in that game. But I trust Allen more than Jackson in the postseason, and obviously the guy with 3 rings in 5 years is going to be number 1 on this list.
I have no argument with you about your top 3. I actually have the exact same top 3 in Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson. But I would vote for Lamar Jackson to be the MVP this year.
It's unbelievably close race, my friend.
Yes,
very, very close between him and Allen.
Completely outstanding years from both of them. I just think the race in the division and how important it was for the Ravens to get it ultimately would put, and Lamar Jackson's stats is the lead in his stats over Josh Allen as well. But anyway, to get into my top 10, well, I'll mention my 14 through 11. So Russell Wilson, I think, is the worst quarterback left in these playoffs. I get it. He's won a Super Bowl before. But in this year and the last few weeks, the Steelers offense is absolutely reeling. Do not trust them at all. So I have Russell Wilson as my 14. And then I have Jordan Love as my 13. It's a pretty similar thing for me, having Packers at 13.
Okay.
But that was my actual ranking, Jordan Love at 13. I just, again, to Jeff's point of trust, outside of Toyotathon is a real thing. Jordan Love's stats are not good within a span of the beginning of December to the first week of January, and we are now outside of that first week of January in the real playoffs, and I don't think that they can go into Philly and win that game. So Jordan Love is at 13. Then I have the rookie, Jaden Daniels, at 12. Do think he's very capable. Again, can win Rookie of the Year this year, is the favorite to do so. But I don't. I wouldn't trust him as much as the other guys that I put him above him in this list. And so at number 11, I have CJ Stroud, similar to Jeff. It has not been a good year for CJ Stroud. And losing Tank Dell is another weapon loss. Not having Stephon Diggs is another weapon loss. So having to go at Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz and Joe Mixon over and over again, defenses are going to be able to get accustomed to that. So CJ Stroud 11, but then we get into my top 10. And I do have the rookie in Denver in my top 10, Bo Nix in my top 10. Outside of the first 6 weeks, or the first 6 weeks of the year, Bo Nix looked every bit one of the worst quarterbacks in the National Football League. And the past 10, he's been every bit a playoff quarterback. And exactly what Sean Payton has wanted out of his system for his entire coaching career. So Bo Nix has been capable. And you kind of see at my top 4, but just to kind of mention it now, the ability to scramble and use your legs is very important in my mind in today's NFL. So Bo Nix is in my top 10. And then I have Sam Darnold at number 9. I think what we saw in Detroit was back to being in New York, and he's back to seeing ghosts against good defenses. So will we see that on Monday night? I'm not sure. Granted, their offense is very capable. Kevin O'Connell is a fantastic head coach. He was one of the top head coaches when we did our head coaching rankings for me. But Sam Darnold at number 9. Matthew Stafford, the Los Angeles Rams quarterback that he'll be going against, is at number 8. Again, Super Bowl champion quarterback, very capable. And I've gone over the numbers. The Rams are 20-5 with all 4 of their offensive weapons healthy, including Matthew Stafford. So Justin Herbert is number 7 for me. Leads a lot of statistical categories this year in the NFL, is a large part of why the Chargers team in general is in this position. So Justin Herbert at 7. Baker Mayfield, who has been a top 5 quarterback in every statistical category this season, including interceptions. He is tied for the league lead in interceptions, but he is number 6. Baker is going to go at whatever window he sees. He is a fighter and a scrambler, and Baker Mayfield is my top 6 quarterback. And we can say it as much as we want, but Cleveland made a mistake letting him go. And so Baker Mayfield is a franchise quarterback in this league. So you saw that. But Jared Goff is better than him in my mind in this current moment with the Detroit Lions at number 5. We saw the game 18 for 18 earlier this year. He has been a perfect game manager for the Detroit Lions this entire season. Losing David Montgomery, that didn't need to change. Jahmyr Gibbs stepped it up. But Jared Goff, just needing to get things done as they appear, Jared Goff has been able to do so very consistently this year. And then we get into my top 4. I have Jalen Hurts there because of his scrambling ability, because of his ability to make plays with his legs as well as his arm in key moments, as well as the 3 guys above him. So top 4 are the best scramblers in football, as well as some of the best arms in football: Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Jalen Hurts for me.
The Knicks one caught me off guard.
I figured.
Look, the Broncos have really decimated opponents. They only had 1 win by less than 2 scores. And you know what that was? It was, of course, against the New York Jets, that 10-9 debacle where Knicks was at his absolute worst at that point in his NFL career. Darnold's the interesting one. He's the wild card in this, because if last week regular season Darnold shows up, Minnesota's a threat to make the Super Bowl still. Yeah. If last week Darnold shows up, they're losing on Monday night. I mean, that's basically what it comes down to. He's the most, of all the guys on the list, I think he's the highest variance. Like, you could get him, you could see him be top 5. You could also see him be 14. Like, all of that's in play with Darnold, more so than anything. And
this game among last week is the most important for his contract situation. So.
Oh, well, 100%.
Yeah.
All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll get our actual team rankings at the end of the show here, because we'll bring in our guy Dwayne Colucci in after a quick break here. We'll get all the perspective from behind the book for tonight, this weekend, and much more with DC when we get back. Sports by the Book Football Frenzy.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or, if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day. plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south-of-the-border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside.
Welcome back in. We're back here on Sports by the Book for Football Frenzy. I'm Jeff Parles. Ryan McCormick is here. And Dwayne Colucci and I are yelling out roulette numbers for everyone here on the show. Of course, up at the Rampart, Race and Sports Director up there. Colucci, it's good to see you, my friend. We got a big football game tonight. Let's start there in South Beach. Penn State, Notre Dame. Winner goes to the title game. Loser falls one step shy of getting back to Atlanta. And you know what? It's appropriate. This game's a pick at your shop and right behind us. There's a lot of Penn State one in the market now with the reports of the Notre Dame flu bug this morning. But anyway, you slice it, Dwayne. This is a heck of a game down there in South Beach tonight.
Yeah, monstrous game, without a doubt, guys. And, we're seeing incredible handle on this game. Great two-way action. Like Jeff just said, we're at Pick'em right now, 45.5 total at Rampart and South Point. Ticket count actually is in favor of Notre Dame, but the money is really, really close in this game. It seems like the average consumer is just betting Notre Dame on the parlays and teasers, where the sharp action is coming in on Penn State. And how much you buy into that flu bug? I mean, I'm not sold on any flu bug. I think Notre Dame will come to battle in this game. One of the lower totals actually in the playoffs so far. And, defense and running orientated offenses produces that. But the winner goes to the championship game. No excuses now. And this is a tough one. Definitely one of the better games to handicap. And, I was making fun of you, Jeff, earlier on before the playoffs started. But Notre Dame definitely is proved that they belong and definitely could win this game.
Dwayne, I want to go to the other side of the bracket. The national championship favorite now, Ohio State, 6.5 favorite. It's toggled from the opener at 6, 6.5, 6, 6.5, 5.5, but still at the 6 opener. What are you seeing over at Rampart?
3-1 ticket count, Ryan. That's what it is. That's what it's all about. You're definitely going to get plied with Ohio State money. Prior to that last game that they played, if these teams would have matched up, maybe, 3, 4. Now it's 6. So, Ohio State is definitely battle tested. That last game was monstrous. They built that early lead, were able to sustain and maintain and go through what was an undefeated, monstrous number 1 team in the country in Oregon. So, definitely Ohio State has proven they're battle tested. And not that Texas is not. Texas has played some tough games and they came out on top on that last game, after losing to Georgia a couple of times in the regular season. So definitely Texas belongs, as well as Ohio State. A lot of points to be given on the road, especially, this game is in Texas. Let's keep that in mind, in the Cotton Bowl. But we're seeing one-way action at the Rampart and South Point. Game is played tomorrow, so there's plenty of wagering to go. But a lot of people are parlaying these Notre Dame and teasing Notre Dame, Penn State to either side of the upcoming game. This is the Final Four. Tremendous handle. The teams that we wanted to see from my side of the counter, without a doubt. And tons of excitement leading into this weekend. And then it just keeps going, Ryan, because you have the NFL that goes Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Hopefully everything will be rectified with that Ram game, a tragedy going on out in Southern California, in the Los Angeles area. Prayers are out from all of us to most of those, all of those people, in that area, and definitely hoping that this game can get played, not moving to Arizona possibly is what the NFL was talking about.
Dwayne, I just want to go back to something you said. College teasers actually getting played. I mean, I got reprimanded when I was going to play one at the for round one. Which, by the way, I didn't need the teaser. All the favorites covered in that game, but it's always fun when you have that, because obviously NFL wise, yeah, there's a nice distinct advantage by hitting the right teaser numbers. College, as we know, there's a reason that the college teasers are priced better for the better than the NFL teasers. They're very difficult to win, Dwayne.
Well, you're a sharp, Jeff. You know, consumer. You're a sharp. So we classify you and Ryan as sharps, and then you have the average consumer, younger ladies that come out of our bingo parlor and want to bet on Penn State or Notre Dame. And we do have teaser and parlay cards available, as always, at the Rampart and South Point. So, definitely teasers are a great marketing tool. We do pay higher on the college side because a lot of the times the games are lopsided and one way, going back to previous years when you had the Alabama dominance, 30-point spreads and stuff like that. But, they're a lot of fun, especially at this time of the year. And like I said, when you have the game staggered Thursday through Monday, you have several betting options, and it does open up. Some people do need those extra 6.5, or 7 points, Jeff. So don't kid yourself. We take mixed teasers. We love it. And definitely it's there for the consumers, especially during playoff time.
Dwayne, let's go to the NFL. Let's rattle through these games here. Let's start with the Chargers and the Texans. You guys are alone 2.5 in the market, and boy, if you like the Chargers, go see Dwayne come behind us, lay the 2.5. It's mostly 3 juice on the dog everywhere else. What are you seeing up into your shop right now with LA, a 2.5-point favorite down in the Lone Star State?
Well, that's our bookmaking technique. We're not going to go to the VIG and the 3. So we're maintaining at the 2.5 because it is so difficult for a home team in the NFL playoffs to make them a 3-point underdog from a bookmaker standpoint. Now, the Texans are a little banged up, but the Chargers, this is their, somewhat first go around and initial now under Harbaugh. So it's going to be interesting to see how this game plays out. Right now, the ticket count is 4-1. Yes, on the Chargers. We're seeing that. And the money is, nearly 2-1. But we have not moved the game to 3 as of yet. I want to see some of this Houston money come in, and we'll get plied with it once we move it to 3, in my opinion. So, we're not moving the VIG. We're not moving the needle as of yet. It may happen soon, but this is an exciting game. The game is being played in Houston. Keep that in mind. And you're going to be laying with the LA Chargers, who, somewhat new, like I said, to this playoff scenario. We'll see if Herbert is up to the task. Definitely this is a marquee matchup, an exciting matchup, and another game that I find difficult to handicap just because of the fact that you are getting points at home with Houston. Very tempting, especially if it goes to 3, in my opinion. Yeah, no,
I being at home, a home underdog in a playoff situation, and a team that won a game last year, it is very tempting. But for those that don't want to play something on the side, I do have a little information on the props for you. So in the for Justin Herbert, his passing attempts is at 30.5. He's gone over in 4 straight, over in 9 of the last 13. And then his completions, 20.5 is what the number's at, over in 5 straight, over in 6 of the last 7. So the Chargers offense is throwing the ball a ton recently. And the guy I like it to go to is going to be Will Dissly in this game. The last 7 weeks, the Texans are allowing tight ends for a median of 9 targets, 7 receptions, 55.5 yards, and 4 total touchdowns in those games. But that averages out to 8.8 targets, 6.6 receptions, 66 yards, and 0.6 touchdowns. Will Dissly's prop lines are set at 3.5 catches. If you take the over, you get a plus 115 price. He is 7-8 this season. And so again, with the recency of the Texans defense, he should go over. And then 29.5 receiving yards. The Texans allow 9.7 yards per reception to the tight end. And that's exactly what Dissly has been producing for the Chargers. So if you like I like the correlation of Dissly to get enough targets, Dissly to go over yardage, and possibly get a touchdown in that game. But so to get off of that game and going to the next game from the AFC slate, going to the divisional rivalry, the third matchup of this year, the Steelers at the Ravens, a 9.5 point game or 9.5 point spread here in this one. Dwayne, what are you seeing up at your shop?
Well, definitely, we're not seeing so much initial reaction as the previous game we touched upon. 2-1 ticket count. They're going to bet the Ravens, especially if you're teasing. Baltimore looks really hungry right now. They're playing really well. I think Lamar Jackson wants to turn the corner, whereas the Steelers, it happened a little later. I remember we were talking about this I want to say 8 weeks ago, where I started to say that the Pittsburgh Steelers were going to come back down to earth. They were running the table in the AFC, and then their schedule got kind of difficult late in the season, and now they're not playing their best football. They have to play ball control in this. Najee really has to control the game. We've seen that Wilson has now fell back into, a somewhat complacent mode, in my opinion. But this is a division rivalry. You're seeing a low total at 44. And the Ravens defense, it stepped up the last couple of weeks. But early in the season, you couldn't find that defense. You were able to score massive amounts of points. But now it seems that they've rectified this. Ravens are going to be super tough at home. This is right about the time when you see the Raven great quarterbacks of the past, that age bracket is where they started to win Super Bowls and be successful, whether it was Flacco, now Lamar Jackson. And this is going to be very, very difficult to stop Baltimore in this situation. I think the Steelers really wanted to play a couple of home games going into the playoffs, but they limped in, like I said. Tomlin's going to have his technique cut out for him, but it's 9.5 points, guys. This is a lot of points, and the Steelers were very successful early in the season. This is why you're not seeing an 8-1, 9-1 ticket count. You're only seeing a 2-1 ticket count because of this point spread. 5-1 on the money line is really gaudy. Like I said, total at 44 is one of the lower totals. So keep your eye on the weather. Keep your eye on everybody's health. This is going to be a battle till the end, and the Steelers definitely have a chance, even though I felt they would come back down to earth. When you're getting 9.5 points, that's a lot. Lamar is really going to have to open it up, and, Henry is going to have to control the game for them to cover this point spread, which could be difficult. Freiermuth has been the only major weapon that the Steelers have had. They've had trouble with the wide receivers and the wide receiving core. That's why I say Najee has to play a much more bigger factor in this game for them to be competitive.
Dwayne, to Sunday we go. Another big number. Buffalo's 9 at home against Denver. And this one has not moved all week, which, Dwayne, is it more that people haven't been interested in this game, or has it just been the two-way action's been so good that this number has not justified this thing moving off the 9 here with the Bills favored at home?
I will say, guys, this is the lowest handle game. And, I think that the Bills are definitely battle tested. I think they're going to win this game. I mean, Denver's looked really good. They've come into the playoffs on a high, but, their competition was somewhat the Chiefs just laid down and died, so it conceded that they, get into the playoffs. Indianapolis started to lose games late. The competition for that wild card wasn't as enamoring as you would feel it should have been leading into these playoffs. Josh Allen has just been fabulous. I mean, this guy is playing with a minimal supporting cast other than that great defense, and, he's definitely an MVP candidate. In Buffalo, I think the weather's going to be brutal. I'm seeing a lot of weather, updates where it's going to be brutal cold up there. Maybe not all the snow, but Buffalo really knows how to enhance their game in that atmosphere. And you see, it seems like Josh Allen and his team has fun out there in the snow and when it's very cold. Denver, it's another cold climate, but I don't know how they're going to react going into Buffalo. That's a very, very tough place to play. Josh Allen wants to get that monkey off his back and beat Mahomes in the playoffs and, move on into the NFL Championship, Super Bowl, if possible. So I really like Buffalo in this game. We're seeing a 2-1 ticket count on Buffalo, but nothing major. Like I said, it's the lowest handle game of the weekend thus far. I think a lot of takers and Buffalo backers will come in, though, late on this game.
Well, the other 2-7 matchup is in Philadelphia. The Eagles opened 4. There was questions of whether or not Jalen Hurts was going to be a good to go for this game. He practiced in full, now up to 4.5. It's a rematch of a game that took place in Brazil in week 1. The Eagles have shown that they're really good at being able to stop the run, and with losing Christian Watson, that's going to be a big piece lost for the Packers offense. What are you seeing over in this one, Dwayne?
Yeah, two banged up quarterbacks, Ryan. This is a layoff game. And, you got two suspect coaches, Sirianni and LaFleur, are as bad as it gets, in my opinion. So, definitely Watson plays a major factor. The health of Hurts will remain to be seen. But, they still have Saquon. Saquon's a monster. I think he can control the game. Philadelphia at this time of the year is not a place you want to play on the road. With Love getting banged up as well. That's where LaFleur, he put all his cards into that game last week. And you have all these starters out there, and the injuries started to pile up. It backfired. Eagles ought to play here, in my opinion. Opened at 4, like you said, Ryan, 4.5. We're seeing a ticket count of about 3.5, 4-1 on this game. So I definitely think the Eagles ought to play. You're going to see a ton of teasers and parlays. Money is exceeding 2-1, almost 3-1 now. I mean, Green Bay, they would have to find themselves like they did last year in the playoffs to really compete. But it's night and day between the Dallas Cowboys of last year and the Philadelphia Eagles of this year. Eagles have that monstrous offense, and if Hurts is healthier than they're perceiving, he's going to get the ball to Brown. You mix in Saquon, great run defense. It's going to be tough for Jacobs to get off, and without Watson, that's another weapon that Love counts on, and he's not going to have. We'll see how his elbow is as well. So definitely a tough game, to like the Packers in, but anything could happen. Point spread is low enough to where it's telling you they are alive. And if Hurts is really hurt, play on words, definitely Green Bay can compete. I could see this game going under if both the quarterbacks are banged up and it becomes a running matchup of Jacobs against Saquon the Great.
Dwayne, the 6-3 game on the NFC side. Interesting one with Washington going back down to Southwest Florida, I should say, with the Bucs. 3-point favorites in this game. We saw this week 1 matchup. I'm taking nothing from that game. Washington's totally different than they were, obviously, to begin the season. Washington only won 12 games this year. How about that? That only exceeding their win total by 6.5 games. But, Dwayne, interesting one where the hook has been taken off in this game.
Yeah, we're at 3 now. Definitely even ticket count, even money I'm looking at. And I'm going to give this to you guys. I'm just going to put it out there. I've said it once. I've said it twice. Tampa Bay was in a playoff struggle a couple of weeks ago. Lost to the Dallas Cowboys. So if they can lose to Dallas, they can lose to Washington. Washington is a much better team than Dallas. I think that Jaden Daniels is a stud. He's definitely going to have a chip on his shoulder. And, like you said, you're exceeding your win total by 6.5. What pressure do you really feel coming into this game? Climate should be good for both teams. I just think Baker Mayfield is a little overrated. They were going for personal stats for Evans last week. So, it looked a little flashy, but I'm not sold in this game. I like Washington a lot. I would take, definitely I would have taken the 3. I will take the 3 points in this game. And, if it ever got to 3.5, I would then definitely jump on it. I mean, I think Washington's the right size here. I don't think Tampa has accomplished really anything that's exceeded or made them so enamoring. They have a flashy offense, but they can give up points. I think Washington has a better defense. I like the Commanders in this spot.
Dwayne, I just want to ask you, with everything that's gone on in the LA area, it's hard to think about football, especially a game that's supposed to be going on there. With everything that's circulating with the Rams and the Vikings, by the way, a pick on this game now behind us and at your shop. If that game were to move location, what is the protocol? There is the possibility that this game could end up being played in Glendale, Arizona, if need be, with everything that's going on in the greater LA area.
Yeah, we quickly have to adjust here at the Rampart and South Point. If it does not take place on the specific date or the location, we have to reset up and revamp. We would set up a new set of betting numbers. You would, unfortunately, have to rebet the game if it does move from Los Angeles to Arizona, like they're speaking of. And it does seem that that's the route they're going to take. I did see Santa Anita a couple of hours ago has canceled their Friday card, which is tomorrow. Very difficult to breathe in that area. Very difficult to commute. You're going to need all your police forces and all your firemen and all emergency services to converge in that fire area. So I think it's going to be very difficult to play this game in SoFi. And, so far we're seeing good two-way action. A lot of people are leery about this game. It's a pick 'em right now. I think, if you play it on a neutral site, the Vikings may even become the favorite by a point or two. I think Minnesota, if Darnold throws out this last weekend, he's unbelievable. I'll be honest with you. And I definitely think this is a key game for him. Don't throw the ball high like you were last week. Everything seemed to be going high and, sailing out on him. That was a different scenario, though, definitely a tougher atmosphere and a lot more pressure because it was for the overall number one seed. Now, this is a difficult spot. The Rams beat them already earlier in the season, but I think Donald is definitely capable. But it's much tougher if it's played in the Los Angeles area, especially with all those fans rallying around to try and support their team emotionally as well as, all the happenings going on there. But I think it's going to move, guys. I'll be honest with you. And at the Rampart in South Point, you would have to rebet the game. Unfortunately, that's the house rules that we've followed for years and years and years. And that's the protocol at the Rampart in South Point. So tough game to handicap because we don't know all the surroundings and the status of SoFi. Will the Rams be playing at home? They have a high-octane offense. We know that with Cooper Kupp and Nakua. Definitely monstrous wide receivers and a great passing game if Stafford is healthy. But like I said, Donald and the Vikings, they were monstrous all year up until that last week. Definitely a tough team and a tough out and could make it. I heard you, Jeff, earlier in the segue. Definitely could make it to the Super Bowl if they start to win and play very well like they have in the regular season.
It's we'll keep you updated on anything we know. Obviously, our thoughts are with everyone in the greater Los Angeles area. Just horrible images with all the fires across the area in the LA area. Just horrible to see for sure. He's Dwayne Colucci. You can find him up at the Rampart, race and sportsbook director up there. NY Bookie Dwayne for Dwayne on the tweets as well. DC, pleasure as always. We will talk to you again next week.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Ryan. And like we said, thoughts and prayers to everybody out in Los Angeles. Also, thoughts and prayers to my friends in New Orleans there. That was a tragedy a couple of weeks ago, and in the Las Vegas area as well with the Trump Tower situation. A lot of weird stuff happening. Great time of the year for sporting events and sports, but let's focus in. Life is the most important thing, and thoughts and prayers to everybody in the Los Angeles area.
Very well said.
Dwayne Colucci, everyone, up at the Rampart. All right, Ryan, real quick, I want to check in with the chat.
Yeah.
A lot going on there, and then you have two quick notes to get us out of here today.
Yeah, so we had Joey B all over the Irish tonight, and Vince, good afternoon. We had a couple polls. Who wins the national championship? We had a tie between viewers saying Penn State wins the national championship or Ohio State will win the national championship. And then we also had which underdog has the best chance to win this weekend on the NFL card between the Broncos plus the 9, the Packers plus the 4.5, or the Steelers plus the 9.5. And 75% I think the Broncos plus the 9 is the best play.
Minidar hacked the vote.
Certainly did. Agent 89, I'm sure, was there with them. So. Yeah. But two things of note I did want to get on games before we get out of here. So going to the Steelers-Ravens game, just a fun note in that one, and then a play for you in the Commanders-Bucks. But Steelers-Ravens, all-time 36-26 in favor of the Steelers. But specifically in the month of January, okay? In the month of January, the Steelers are 6-1 against the Baltimore Ravens. In Baltimore, in the month of January, the Steelers have never lost. They're 3-0. In the playoffs, in the month of January, the Steelers lead this series 3-1. So if you think one of the big underdogs are going to go down this weekend, or could take one of the big dogs down this weekend, I would certainly think a division rivalry could help you get there, especially when the fact that Lamar Jackson, in his career as a starter against the Steelers, is 2-4, has thrown an interception in all 6 starts against the Steelers, and does not have any career anytime touchdowns against the Steelers. So if you like the Ravens in that game, I wouldn't fault you for playing a Lamar Jackson touchdown, but just to let you know, he has never done so against the Steelers. And so that's for the history in the Steelers-Ravens matchup. And then go into a recent trend and something I like in the Commanders-Bucks game. I will be taking Baker Mayfield to throw an interception against the Commanders. He has thrown an interception in 6 straight. It is a pick'em price currently. Mike Evans and Marshawn Lattimore do not like each other. Marshawn Lattimore wins that battle the majority of the time, or won that battle the majority of the time in New Orleans. I tend to think it's going to go the same way, and Baker is going to make a mistake. And it may not be to Marshawn Lattimore, but he will throw an interception in that Commanders-Bucs game. So Baker to throw an interception.
Again, that's to me the most intriguing game of the whole weekend. I know the Summons were like, well, how did that game get the premium slot? Those teams are pretty even. Those defenses, neither of them are particularly great. Those offenses, they've been pretty darn good this year. So very intrigued by that game all the way around on the Washington front. Before we go, I'm on Notre Dame. Ryan leans Penn State, but can't quite get there all the way through. We also both like the under as well in this game, even at 45.5. All right. Shout out to Chad. Shout out to you, Ryan. Shout out to Jerry, Vince, and Sean, wherever he may be watching. We hope you feel better, Sean.
Yes.
Drew Dog as well. Shout out to Dwayne for joining us, as he always does, on these Thursday shows. Tomorrow, 3 o'clock, myself, Chris Andrews, Vinny Magliulo, get you ready for Ohio State and Texas and the 6 playoff games in the NFL. We'll be back 23 hours from now, right here on Sports by the Book Football Frenzy.